Black and white.
Short Box Nation, without further ado, let's welcome our guest of honor today. That's right, I said guest. That's plural because we got two fantastic guests for you today. We've got the host of the ComicTom101 YouTube channel, and they can now add comic writers to the resumes because at the time of this episode, the first issue of the original comic book Crashdown is in shops today. The series is illustrated by highly decorated and multi-award winning comic artist Ben Templesmith and is being published by Whatnot Publishing. Shortbox Nation, let's welcome Tom Garcia and Ryan Sargent to the show. Tom, Ryan, welcome.
Potter, it's great to see you. Thank you for having us, taking time out of your day. It's very exciting. You know, we're recording this before the release, but I can only imagine our excitement and our enthusiasm at the time of this release is at an all-time high.
You know, a very different world next Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, it'll be great.
I mean, look, this episode comes out on the big debut day, so I'm going to go ahead and retroactively or however futurely say congratulations on the release of Crashdown. I have been watching the videos. I've seen the clips on YouTube. YouTube and Instagram. I'm loving the promo and all the work you guys have done building up to it. And this is like this is like the ultimate podcasters, comic content creator podcasters dream to have their own comic book. So I applaud you guys for making it happen, man.
Yeah, we appreciate the love. We've had so much support. It's been outstanding, and it's been a long ride. You know, we've delayed the book a little bit, but for good reason. You know, we've been able to expand it, make it a larger and even better story than what we even imagined at first. And yeah, we're just hitting the ground running. We have a lot of ideas, and I want to speak for you, Ryan, but I feel like this is just the start. It's just I feel like I got bit by the bug. I'm constantly in this creative mode now, and I'm thinking of new stories. I'm thinking of volume 2 already, which I don't want to get ahead of myself because, hey, we got to have a successful volume 1 first, but
Sure.
But it's definitely something that I didn't think would be here so soon. It's definitely a dream of mine to have a comic book.
I second all of that.
I was listening to y'all to your interview.
I didn't give you permission to talk, Ryan. Oh, sorry, Tom. There you go.
I was listening to your interview on the I might mess this up, but Bearded Comic Bro podcast.
Yeah,
and it was
shout out.
Really solid
Good
interview. And I was like, big shout outs to him. It was really good. And to be honest, a little bit of me was like, I watched enough of their videos where I get the shtick, I get the chemistry, and I'm like, I wonder how much of that is like even behind the cameras, off cameras, how much of that energy is true. And sure enough, listeners, both of these guys are just as great, off camera as they are on camera. So
Tom told me if I did good. He said if I did good in the interview, then I could have one extra snack today. So that's fun.
Ryan's on a diet.
My extra snack days are really nice. So when I do good, I get a nice little treat as a reward. So
yeah, I got I've had I've been very blessed with my career in comic books, and I've been able to work with some of my best friends. And I've known Ryan way before the YouTube channel, way before Instagram, way before I even had like a social media presence at all. So what you see is what you get, because we just have extended our lives and welcome the comic community to just be spectators and be part of it. So, I know it's like I have a lot of energy on camera, but also Ryan can attest, it doesn't stop.
No.
We do a lot of things. I'm someone who has to like regulate my sleep patterns to make sure I can keep up with all the stuff I take on. I'm a guy who's like, I gotta take a quick 20-minute nap because I want to be up till late tonight getting ready for this next thing. And, it's just what it takes though, to kind of fulfill your dreams, right? Like you got to work hard and do it. And
you sleep when
we
you're
have
dead.
a lot of amazing supporters, so it's super easy.
Hell yeah. Look, you guys are a dynamic duo, and I love the energy that the fact that you guys both balance each other out. Tom, I think the energy that you bring to comics is very much needed. And one of my first questions, I'm thinking like the marketing has been on point. You guys obviously are used to promoting videos and your own content, cutting clips, and being active on social and learning the algorithms and things like that. I'm assuming that was probably, would you say marketing the comic book was maybe the easiest step when you consider the entire creative process, considering all the work you already put into the channel and promoting that?
That's a good question.
I love that question, actually.
I'll say none of it's easy. Like, really. I mean, if anything, going through this process I already had the utmost respect for everyone involved in comic creation because I'm privy to a lot of it. I work with a lot of artists. I'm a rep of Johnny Desjardins, we work with the industry leaders and publishers, and I'm friends with almost all of them. So I had a lot of insight. So I knew I was prepared. But starting and actually like going through it, oh my goodness, there's so many curveballs. There's so many due dates. There's so many things you got to think 5 steps ahead. And I would say like, no, there wasn't really anything. It was all hard. It still is hard, and it's a lot of fun. I think that we were equipped with the marketing though, not because like we knew what to do, because we had to go into and plan it just like anything else. And maybe because we're good at planning things because of our show, like that could help. Yeah. But really the thing that made it easy is that we make a lot of variant covers. We work with a lot of publishers and we work with a lot of other stores. So for me, I thought about this like if there was another, if I was working with an IP, a brand new IP that was all risk because it's brand new. We're the first time writers, we think we made something awesome, I hope it's great. At this point, we've been spending so much time on it. We may have made something totally just dog shit. I don't know, but I think it's great. I think the community's going to love it. And I'm really excited about it. The way I looked at the marketing was like, this is how I wish a comic book would be marketed that I was investing in. And from the ground up, it was about empowering anyone who wanted to support us. You'll notice that all the Crashdown variants that are coming out had a minimum print count of 100, which is basically unheard of in ongoing comic books, and that was purposeful. I'm not looking to make money off of my supporters or my friends. I'm looking to support them because they're going to support us by marketing and being along for the ride of our creation that we put over a year into. And through that, that was actually pretty easy. What would I like if I was taking a risk and trying to help someone who was supporting, I was supporting their IP, and maybe I looked at them as a friend or a colleague. So we went out of our way to curate covers. We went out of our way to make sure that those cover deals were great and that we didn't like profit off of our stores who were backing us. We went out of our way to make sure that things were received before a convention like MegaCon, which is going to be the big debut. We went through specialty printing to make sure that they were done to a higher level of quality than when you go through a giant printing house that things go wrong because there's thousands of books being dealt. We paid for better card stock. Like we every step of the way, just like our YouTube channel, we reinvest into it. And in this case, we're reinvesting into our supporters. And that's a big part of the marketing is the supporters of our fellow retailers, stores, et cetera. But then obviously LCS is primary number one. They're the ones who are taking the biggest risk in ordering across the country and out of country. So doing interviews like this, of course, is kind of like, this is, like what is expected of us, but we did a lot. We did way more. I think we've probably marketed Crashdown more than I think any independent comic that we've covered since the start of our YouTube channel. I could be wrong, but I think we did a damn good job.
And I feel like we're just scratching the surface. As the person behind the scenes who is typing these posts out and hitting the button and sharing them all, it's like we've got a lot more on deck. So if you do enjoy these little teaser clips and like showing off the covers that we have on deck, then stay tuned.
Well, look, and for our listeners, I'm gonna have links to Crashdown. I'm gonna have links to I'm gonna have links to Crashdown as well as previews. I know previews put out some preview images of those. So all of that will be linked in the episode show notes, as well as where you can go ahead and pre-order and buy the comic as well. But great opening statements. And that is essentially what my compliment was, that from one content creator and someone that's been, talking comic books for 10, I think going on 12 years now, seeing the enthusiasm and the level, the volume of content, I could tell like, now, these guys really care about this project, and they're putting their all into marketing it. And it did got me thinking, like, man, I wish that other comic creators or publishers put in just as much effort into the marketing, because I feel like marketing in comic books that's definitely an area that could be improved upon, for lack of better terms. But before we go any further,
can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah, hit it.
Cut me off, my soapbox. There are so many opinions about why the comic community is the way it is. Fill that in for whatever is important to you as it pertains to like comics being ordered at LCSs and people picking up their comics and you know, the more that happens, the more comics get created at the publishers, the more teams that assemble to create these comics. There's multiple people. Every IP that Marvel and DC and Image produce is like its own micro business. And then the publisher is the umbrella, and then the LCSs, you know, it's like, it's just a lot of people that have to coordinate to make something that comes out monthly via a dead medium, you know, paper. Like, what? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So we're lucky that it even exists at all. There's a lot of things that could be said of what could be better. Narratives, who's writing it, what they care about and what they're putting into the comic, sure.
You mentioned cardstock earlier. Even the damn pages themselves you're reading, like half the time you rip through them because they're like tissue paper. You get ink smudging on your fingers and you just feels like you're holding a cheap product that nobody cares about on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about something you can read digitally if you really wanted to. So I think like the number one thing that I wish was more of a critique and that people talked about at least first before any other opinion is marketing. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that like Marvel DC have their plates full and they can't market much more than what they're doing. And then on top of that, the LCSs, if you are friends with an LCS owner, their plate is more than full. Most of these people are working 50, 60 hours a week. And they do it because they love it, not because they're, you know, backing up the truck. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, then you have the creators, right? And then it all falls on the creators. What are the creators' job? To create the best thing they can. And to have someone who's amazing at art, who sits at a desk, and at times some artists, I work with artists that work, it takes days to make one cover. You know, that's why the variant market's so damn cool. You know, you have like someone like I mentioned Johnny Desjardins. It'll take sometimes over a week to finish a oil painting, right? You have writers, and they put all their effort, and it takes a lot of time. I remember hearing and having conversations with Donnie Cates where it's like, what is he doing or what was he doing at conventions? Well, at 1 or 2 in the morning, he's downstairs, people taking shots of him while he's on his laptop writing because it's 2 a.m. and there's 5 people waiting to start their job, waiting for him to do his job. So he's focused on that. So where's the marketing? Whose job is it to market? Well, I mean, we got a tiny channel, yo. We're like 60,000. We're tiny. We're a little bit. And we made a name for ourselves because we market comics because we talk about them. And like it's like the comic community, you know? It's like all of us kind of come together and we fill that role that's so desperately needed. But let's not get it twisted. It's desperately needed. And without it, nothing happens. And I would argue that it's whatever critique people have about comics, until marketing is dialed in a way where there's any level of production and any level of content coming out that any other social media platform would require, that's 50+% of the battle. Nothing else really matters. People got to know that the comics exist.
I want to go see Aquaman in the theater, and before the movie comes out, I want to see a trailer and says, go read The Trench, Aquaman The Trench, Jeff Johns, Jim Lee, New 52. It's badass. Here's some pages. Here, make a cool little clip. Throw it up before the movie. Get the people who are going there to see your movie, however few of them there may have been. That's your solution in my mind, I feel like. You got so many people, at least you used to, going to see these movies in the theater who were primed to maybe get a little comic book dangled in front of their eyes while they're sitting there watching previews for Fast and Furious or what other Jason Statham movies coming out. You know, get them a book. This stuff is all based on stuff.
You can't critique Aquaman when you can't answer the question, why does Aquaman... Okay, you kind of can answer the question because Aquaman's a bad example, my man, but why could a box office movie come out and that have no fluctuation in the comic market beyond collectibles? You know, I'm talking about just going to an LCS. It's like until that question could be answered and not by, the writer of the month or the writer of the series and whatever it is. Like, so many things you can critique, but like the main thing is like if a movie can't do it, there is so many bigger problems as it pertains to marketing that everything else is kind of, in my opinion, and I don't mean to like ruffle feathers, I think it's nonsense.
I can respect that. Yeah, you know what? I seen a tweet that's a little bit related to this morning about the idea of comic books, and they were like, "Can you imagine any other medium where you go and buy one chapter of a book every single week or a month?" You know, just how deranged that kind of concept is. And some of the things you said got me thinking about that and much deeper. But great opening remarks, and it's got me thinking. The time that we do have for this interview is not long enough for all the things I would like to pick your brains about. So I'm going to pivot to my next topic, which is really kind of taking a step back. Since this is both of your first time on the short box, I want to give folks a kind of an idea of who you guys are and where you're at. Is it safe to say you guys are both in Washington State, like around that area? Right there? Okay.
The Evergreen State.
Okay,
Best place in the world to live.
I mean,
have the data.
Florida would like to have a little conversation about that, but I'm not going to argue
Florida?
too much.
You just said Florida?
Damn right, man.
That was a funny joke, my man. That's a funny joke. This guy over here having to run from gators and stuff. He's like, this place is popping.
Look,
all those jellyfish in the ocean.
Run from them.
I got stung by a jellyfish once in Florida. Never got over it.
I see where it's coming from now. All right, well,
I got family
in
Fort Lauderdale. I love Florida.
Oh, come on, man. There you go. Look, next time you're down here, you get an invite to the Short Box Studio if you'd like.
Yo, I got family in Florida. My grandma lives down there. She had to replace her roof twice because of freaking hurricanes.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, now
you're
bringing up
the hurricane in Washington.
Right. Yeah.
Never.
What's the temperature? What's the temperature like in Washington right now?
You gotta wear a coat. You gotta wear a coat.
Most of the year.
It's chilly. It's a little chilly right now. It may be snowing a little bit right now. I may lose power.
Look, trade-offs. What I want to know by bringing up that question is, what is the comic scene like in your, whether it be neighborhood, your city, or state? Like, what is the comic book scene like there? If I was to come do a trip to Washington and I had to mark off like some essential go visit, comic book spots or do comic book things, what would you recommend?
Well, one, we got Emerald City out here. It's gonna be next month. Actually,
Comic-Con?
Yeah, Comic-Con. Okay. Yeah, we got yeah, it's a good Emerald City, right? We have issue 2 coming out in February. It's the week of Emerald City Comic-Con. Awesome convention and so much like comic supporters. Growing up here, I know pretty much every major retailer, and they run their businesses in such amazing ways that they've definitely they're all mentors in some ways since I've known them for so long. I mean, a lot of these guys have been doing this since I was a teenager, right? So you have some amazing stores. We actually had Sammy from Skeleton Key. They came up for a drop, right? And we're like, hey, let's show her around to our regular stops. We were in the car for maybe 2 hours and we hit 9 shops, 8 shops. It was there's a comic store in every city out here, pretty much. And if there's not a comic store, there's an antique store with a comic section because someone rented out an area and they keep their comics going, I would say it's a really strong presence out here. There's a lot of people who like to read out here too. And I think that's that's also another important
We're also
thing.
pretty close to Portland, which in my mind is like comic mecca, and you got so many publishers and, creators that are headquartered out of there.
Because I think if I recall correctly, I think, some of the names that come to mind when I think Portland, I think Brian Michael Bendis is out there. I think
Joshua Williamson's out there too.
Joshua Williamson. Yeah, it's to Ryan's point, I have heard it is like a mecca. So, you know what? All right, maybe I'm giving a little more credit to Washington being one of the best states out there. All right, you had me at 9 shops in 2 hours. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's a good time, man.
Now, Tom, I've heard your story before in regards to your first conscious exposure to comics. It sounds like, from my understanding, you've kind of grown up with comics. Your father owned a comic shop, and you guys lived above the shop, right? Was that safe to say?
He was a manager of the shop. Yeah,
manager.
Yeah,
okay,
he managed it. You wouldn't have want him running the shop back then, or ever maybe. I don't know. No, he was good at it. But yeah, you want the quick rundown?
Yeah, give me a quick rundown. I don't want to assume that that was your first conscious exposure, but do you recall maybe that one particular title or book or moment where it was okay, I'm in this for life. I'm a fan.
Oh, snap. Oh, I learned how to read with comics. That was I struggled with reading. I don't know. I probably have a little bit of ADHD or maybe even a little bit of dyslexia. I don't know. My problem is if I'm reading a standard book, unless it's a nonfiction book, by the time I get halfway through a page, I'm gone. I'm what did I just read? I read it, but I did not retain anything. So it was a real struggle in my youth, when I was a Ute, right? My cousin Vinny, right? So
shout out.
So quickly, my dad's oh, well, let's read comic books together. So I pretty much learned how to read comics, learned how to read with comics. And I grew up with Bone, and I grew up with reading different like JLA. My dad was a big Vertigo guy, so I was definitely introduced to some more mature stuff than I should have been. Whenever there was stuff at school, and they're like, you have to bring something to read for a reading time, etc. My dad would always be like, just grab a graphic novel, and if they give you any crap about that, tell them they can call me, and I'll tell them that this is what I want my kid to read. So when teachers would be like, oh, you can't read Hellblazer, you need to read a real book. And I'm like, it is a real book. He gets cancer, and I got to figure out what he's going to get, how he's going to get out of this.
Can I tell you what I brought to school reading day?
What did you read?
I also got in trouble for because I didn't discover comics until like college.
Dude, you can't bring porn to school, Ryan.
A little bit is okay. No, it's a little. There's a story in here.
I know there's a bunny.
You gotta read past the imagery.
That's right.
Yeah, I know there's a bunny on the
Greg
logo.
Horn.
I do.
No, but for me, it was like.
Excuse me, not what Greg Horn.
I get them mixed up too.
Who did I?
Greg Land?
Greg Land?
I don't know which
Oh
one's
my
which.
gosh.
No,
Love
no,
Greg Horn.
wait.
Did not mean to say Greg Horn. Greg Land.
But Greg
Horn
Horn is also known for all of his very steamy sexual covers, so that would have worked too.
Yeah.
I brought the Kingdom Hearts strategy guide to class and read that. And
I hope I can consolidate that. Yeah, that creepy ass the soundbite. That is good.
That's why we got separate. We got separate mic tracks. I can talk all over him.
Ryan, what was your first exposure to comics? You said not until college.
Yeah, not really until college. I did like the Borders books hangout. I would sit in a chair and read Ultimate Spider-Man like in high school a couple times.
Yeah,
it was fine, but I didn't really even know that like these came out in single issues month over month. Like comics were just completely off my radar.
Do you remember any of the comics that like stuck with you that you did experience for the first time at Borders? Like I read Old Man Logan for the first time.
It was Ultimate Spider-Man. I read volume 1 and I went back and I read as much as I could. And sometimes they put those little security stickers right in the middle of the book over a panel, and I would just like take that off.
Lift it up.
No, I peel it off. I peel that sucker off. I'm like, I'll put it back on the cover of the book. I'll keep it on the book somewhere. One time I screwed up. It must have stuck on my shoe or something. The beeper went off on me when I went out the door.
Then Ryan ran. He just sprinted.
Dude, all right. I have, I've probably shared this story for all of our longtime listeners. They've heard this 1,000 times, but the fact that you guys are bringing up like college age childhood, like idiot mistakes, right? Books A Million. I used to go into Books A Million, like, broke college kid life. Like, and they used to have these $5 trades, like it's $5, $10 trades. And they used to have these red stickers on them. So I would just swap the stickers out for actual trades like I wanted and shit like that. And I built up one hell of a collection. Until I had like morals like set in, and then I was like, I should probably stop that. But there's been there's been a few. I built a badass library, is what I did. No regrets there. But hearing that story, that's pretty funny. And Tom, your story about learning to read via comics resonates really closely with me because I was born in Morocco. When we moved to Jax, I had like a kind of like speech problems. I knew a couple of languages, so learning and reading English was not the easiest thing, and comic books was kind of like my safe haven, and helped me read as well too. So that's pretty cool that we share that. Where was I going? Awesome. I'm sorry about that. Watching you two, interact and hearing you two talk has got me missing all of my co-hosts. Like I kind of miss having a friend to like bounce off of, and I really enjoy the banter, and I can feel the love between you two. So tell me, how did you two meet? Like how did you guys form a friendship?
Oh, I hired him.
Yeah, about a decade ago, I was working in the food court at the mall, and my mommy was like, "You need a big boy job," and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm in my early 20s. I got to get out of this mall." And I liked working with numbers. I was meeting people face to face, working at a mall, so I figured I was decent enough with customer service. I applied at a bank, walked in for the interview, and it was this guy who was on the other side of the table, along with some other branch manager or something, but. I assumed that must have been like, oh, she brought her son to work today and dressed him up in a suit or something because this little 13-year-old looking kid is
ma'am, I am the manager. Yeah, I am
that's
the manager.
How it went down.
Yeah, I was Mr. Manager. I was the youngest branch manager of Wells Fargo at one point. I got the job like right when I turned 21, and I was just good at it. And I was managing people, and I was hiring for tellers. And this guy came in and, he shared with us that what he liked to do in his downtime was like read comic books and play video games. And I'm like, oh, cool. Because I was the person in charge. I would have, and you can attest to this, I would have all of my, you go to work, but you find out something's being shipped to you from eBay. And you're like, damn, I can't wait to go home. And I hope that they put it underneath, the awning so it doesn't get rained on,
please.
or like, I've been waiting on this. I've been, checking the tracking. So I realized, well, this is my branch.
I run this place.
I'm going to have this be my address. So I would have my comics. I would just shop all the time. And I would have them shipped to the branch. So they'd be like, oh, Tom, we got a package. I'm like, oh, cool. That's my collection I just bought. And then statues. I was also buying Gem Mint style statues, right? So
that's when I get a little phone call at the teller line because I'm working. I'm managing people's transactions and stuff. And it's like, we need you over at the manager's desk, please.
I'm like, yeah. Hey, bring me Ryan. I need Ryan. I need Ryan
over here.
So Ryan would come over, and then other people would be like, oh, what's Ryan doing? He's like, oh, Tom's over there talking to him. And at first they're like, oh, why is he's doing coaching or is he in trouble? And then they got to the point where we're like, oh, Tom got some freaking comic books.
You should have been coaching me. I sucked at that.
You were really bad at it, dude. And I wasn't
my least favorite job I've ever had. I hated it so much.
It was a bad, dude. I'm not in that industry for a reason.
It's 6 months.
But I also had a Nintendo 64 in the back room and a Sega Genesis. So he's like, oh, I play video games. I'm like, dude, I love playing video games on my break. Like, this could work. And then he also was like, oh, I have a Green Lantern tattoo. And I'm like, well, I got a Hellboy tattoo, dude.
But I have zero professional experience of any kind.
I'm like, you don't need it. I want a friend. So I hired him, and we became good friends. And he wasn't the only person we met, through that time of my, that wasn't the only person I met throughout that time of my life that's, around to this day. And yeah, when the channel started, we didn't hang out all that much, but whenever he did, it was really fun. But he's got his degree and he's a really good writer and he's just great creative. And
I ain't got no degree, man. I went to school. I didn't finish. I don't want you to put out fake news.
Dude, you don't have your degree?
No.
I actually thought
I went to hippie school, dude.
I thought you actually had your
degree.
degree.
I didn't even have
short box
exclusive. Do you have your associates?
I don't have shit. I dropped out of there because
I had more of a college
recession and stuff happened right at that time period, man. It was bad times.
We're going to have to dock your pay.
You can dock my pay.
Oh, my goodness. I've been paying you thinking you had a 4-year degree.
Scientist in the foot,
degree.
Ryan.
That's right.
Holy smokes.
And the president of America.
Well, that tells you just how little schooling impacted me because this guy,
good.
Yeah, he writes really well. So,
GUD.
But yeah, early YouTube days, when I was doing the first couple of videos, I realized oh snap, I need some help. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Maybe you can help me script a little bit. Maybe help me with my delivery and edit what I'm doing. And then really quickly, I'm like, this isn't as much fun as I thought it would be because it was so hard. I was learning Photoshop and Adobe and how to script. And at the time I had I had a teleprompter and I don't do that anymore. But at the beginning, I thought that's how you do this. So I quickly was like, you're right. You want to just sit in on a video and see how that goes. And it was it was a fun time. And I realized, oh wait, this could actually be really enjoyable. If we kind of dialed this in.
You had to convince me. I was very content to just be your a script proofreader and / I don't know, camera guy or something. I'll come over one time, I'll sit in this video. Okay, fine. This is a one-time thing. And then you're like, yeah, you need to get on Instagram because that's where all the comic fam is, all this stuff's on Instagram. I'm like, I got a Facebook, bro. I'm good. I don't need Instagram. You basically had to drag me to where I am now, but I'm appreciative.
Damn. Well, you know what? I probably speak on behalf of the millions of views that you guys have, but I'm glad that you guys have found your voice in a solid operation. I know personally speaking, I feel like I might have got on board with the ComicTom101 train around the pandemic time, but it felt like I was already late even then. You guys kind of hit a fucking hurricane, if we're bringing up Florida puns. So it's been really interesting to watch the channel grow, the success and the acclaim that you guys get. Being on the audio side, I'm always interested on the video side and how that kind of ecosystem works and whatnot. So regardless, watching you guys in action right now, it makes a world of sense. The collaboration, and I want to get to talking about Crashdown actually right now. Ryan, you said in an interview that you pride yourself in doing just digging through previews, the back issues, the bottoms of the listings, and
the scraps.
The scraps, which I can totally respect because I'm a front to end kind of preview reader myself. I'm always looking for the stuff that's off the beaten path. So if that said, how did it feel seeing Crashdown be listed in preview? I believe it was listed in previews for the first time in the June or July previews magazine. How did it feel
been a
seeing
couple,
that?
We've gotten in there a couple times.
Oh, okay.
We had a delay on our book, so it was in previews. I think the first 2 issues were in previews almost a year ago at this point when it was first solicited, and then it was delayed and then put in previews again. So we've had we've been in previews a lot now. We're issue 3 is in the current catalog right now. I just flipped to it like yesterday when I was at the shop just to get a look. It still doesn't feel real. I don't know. I don't know when this is going to feel real. Probably by the time by the time I get to read the actual comic myself.
Let me, like Tom said, we are recording this, a couple of days before the release of issue 1. Where do you guys plan to be when issue 1 drops? Like, do you guys plan on celebrating in any way? Like, how you guys have that day, blocked out? Like, what's going to happen on, issue
on
1
Wednesday?
drop day? Yeah, Wednesday.
Oh, so we're going to be on Whatnot for hours. Like, we're going to be doing like a party. It's going to be a really cool time because it's like, we're going to stream on YouTube, see the fam, hopefully bring in as many creators and individuals who are part and that we owe a lot of gratitude to. And hopefully they feature, we're going to have them feature on Whatnot and on YouTube. And we're going to be debuting the book. We're going to be signing books and we're going to be, providing them to the community in however they want to grab them. So, it's gonna be a fun time. I'm kind of excited to see how Wednesday goes because I do want to make time to actually go to an LCS and
that
see
would be
if
cool.
Any there too. So
we have a live stream on Thursday. We're going to talk about the book on Thursday too. So once it's actually out in people's hands, I'm excited to talk to people about the read itself. We've been kind of vague about it up until now because we're trying to keep it spoiler free until release day.
Well, how about this? To give folks an idea of what they can expect from the series and issue 1, I'm going to read the solicitation. And I'm going to read the solicitation first to kind of give everyone a groundwork. And then I want to ask you guys a question about it here in a sec. So the solicitation for Crashdown #1 reads, Tom Garcia and Ryan Sargent, which Ryan, by the way, you've got like 2 badass names. You got a badass regular last name and then a badass nickname, Fireguy Ryan. Tom Garcia and Ryan Sargent, the host of the ComicTom101 YouTube channel with over 12 million views, team up with legendary horror artist Ben Templesmith for this 3-issue story of suspense and survival. Equal parts lost and alien with a Lovecraftian twist, Crashdown delivers a dark vision of our world's final days. The Earth is dead, humanity's last hope is the distant planet Empyrean, and the ship full of colonists ready to repopulate our civilization. But what happens when their new home doesn't want them there and it fights back? So that's the solicitation there. My question is, what was the mission in writing this? Like, what audience, what reader, what consumer did you have in mind when you wrote this down? And how did the story, I guess, come about?
Me. I wanted to write the book I wanted to read. Like, if I was flipping through the catalog and I saw a book that said the word Lost in it, I'm ordering it. That's about it. If I see anything with tentacles or Lovecraftian stuff, I'm a sucker. I'll order it, and I might be disappointed more often than not. But there are certain things that I gravitate towards when it comes to storytelling, and I wanted to write the comic that I would like to read. And I think that's a solid piece of advice that a lot of creators get.
With any medium, really.
Yeah.
You make it for yourself, and then it's going to be the best it can be. And fortunately, this opportunity to bring it to press, it wasn't an opportunity first, and then we decided to make the book. No, this was already conversations were happening. I'm friends with Ben Templesmith. He had been telling me for over a year, come on, man, let's make a book. And I'm like, I got these ideas. And I'm kind of like, I'm chilling with him. We're bouncing ideas off each other. And I had a handful of things I'm like thinking about doing. And I had some bad ideas. I had a freaking creepy, weird story that I don't think Whatnot would ever publish that I showed Ryan. And he's like, dude, you got some weird stuff going on in your head. Like, I like horror, dude. Superheroes are cool. And I like a lot of DC stuff. And that's all great. But I'm a horror guy at heart. I like feeling disturbed. I like the feeling of, I really enjoy being able to read a comic and then having it linger afterwards. And there are stories that I think of like witches, for example, the witches that are in the trees, Scott Snyder goodness that Jock drew, that's going to be an animated horror series, by the way. It resonated so much with me that I reread the book, and all throughout the year, I'll randomly think of that book. But I do that with a lot of horror as well. So yeah, we went into it like, well, we already know what we want to do, and we have a company that's willing to work with us with this, and they're cool with horror. Let's go all in and let's see how much we can push it and do something that we really want to do. So fortunately, we got no pushback. They've been it's honestly, I'm a little surprised that they let us do everything they wanted us to do. I was waiting for them to say, hey, maybe tone it down a little bit. We're like a multi-billion-dollar company and we're competing with eBay and blah, blah. No, we're splitting people in half in this comic, and they're like, whoa, that's cool.
Give us more, please.
No, this is freaking dope. Like, they really care about comics because they're like, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're backing indie creators and, helping us live our dream.
Speaking of Whatnot Publishing, I just realized that there's a little bit of like synergy going on here with this episode. Because around this time last year, the first episode that we put out with the short box in 2023 was actually an interview with co-founder and co-publisher of Whatnot Publishing, Kevin Rodatelli. So big shout outs to Kevin. I find it interesting that we got you guys on talking about a release coming out through there. And I guess that leads me to a question here. Whatnot Publishing is a relatively, safe to say they're like a newcomer into the publishing world. Obviously, they're enjoying a lot of success. Those, that first year that they came out with all those pre-orders they were getting for like Quested and Liquid Kill, and now they got Astrobots, now they've got Crashdown. I'm curious, like, what was some of the lessons, or what was the process like working with Whatnot Publishing? Like, it sounds like they gave you guys a lot of like clearance and a lot of leeway to do the things you wanted. Do you think like them being relatively new meant that they had a chance to maybe take more risks and give you guys a lot more freedom?
Well, they're not relatively new. I think that's the first thing that I think may be a misconception. Massive.
How long have they been around?
Well, Whatnot Publishing is relatively new, but that's just an imprint, and Massive Publishing is the actual like distributor. Whatnot. It's like Skybound Image. Skybound may be newer than Image, but it is Image, right? Like, they're the ones who handle everything there. So
a little semantics, I see.
So Kevin Rodatelli, he's from like Behemoth days, Michael Calero, he's been making comics for years, and he's our editor, by the way. So like, these guys knew what they were doing. All these comics that they brought to press with Whatnot Publishing as a banner and a collaborative effort with Whatnot. Now it was backed by industry professionals. So as far as their impact to what we did, it was like, we're working with professionals. It was amazing. And then, we had asked Michael Calero early on, like, yo, will you edit our book? Like, I know you're busy as hell. And he's like, dude, I freaking love Ben Templesmith. Let's do it. So we have someone who we just have so much talented individuals that we can seek advice from. And we did all along the way. So really, like, working with them was super easy. If anything, it's like the learning curve of creating the comic was the most difficult part. Deadlines and making sure that we have assets and that we figured this out in time for this, and don't forget about previews here. And we're gearing up to like work on this thing, but you know what? You got to work on this thing first, and then you got to work on this thing, and then also be creative at the same time. It's really tough. But all along the way, we're working with people who like do this every day, and it was actually way simpler of a process on the creative side. Maybe because we're not as bad as we might not be
as bad of writers as we are, but there's so many small like things that you take for granted as a comic reader that like when you step on the other side of the of the page as it is, like, you didn't use their names. Like, that's a thing I keep bringing up in a lot of interviews we've talked about, but like that's a lesson that Tom and I learned the hard way, was that like when you're writing a script and you write a line of dialogue and it says Jack, oh man, let's go over here. Susie, okay, that's a good idea. When you're reading the book, people don't know the names Jack and Susie, but we wrote it down in the script. Those are placeholder names, by the way. We do not have characters named Jack and Susie. But regardless, stuff like that. You got to think about stuff like, while issue 1 is about to release, we are farther down the road finalizing stuff for issue 3 and 4. Proofreading issue 2, making sure all the stuff is ready for that, because we're about to switch into issue 2 mode here in a minute. So like, we are having to put a lot of different hats on kind of at the same time. It's a fun challenge, though.
It sounds like you guys are going to be. It sounds like these next few weeks are going to be jam-packed and busy, because it sounds like the schedule is pretty much going to be on point with issue 2 in February, and then the series wraps up in March. So I imagine, even though you
April.
guys are
4 issues. We got expanded to 4 issues.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was the second. So the first delay.
Okay, I didn't see that one.
The first delay was more of a,
that was a timing thing.
It was a time. Yeah, okay. There was a lot of weird stuff, and it had nothing to do with Crashdown, and had everything to do with just like, you know,
logistics.
we're working with
and all that
companies,
stuff.
big companies,
Sure.
and it's got to be right. And they wanted to do it right. And you line things up for convention seasons, and then things change. So the first one was like, hey, we had an idea for a one shot, and they're like, hey, if we can get a one shot rolling, we just need a little bit more time, have a better launch. So we're like, yeah, well, we need more time because we want to gear up for a one shot. And then the second delay was like, well, our one shot's kind of more of an issue 4. If we can actually get issue 4 on the books.
We were going to do a 3-issue storyline with a one shot that came afterwards to, like, you know, do a solo story for a character, like a all flashback storyline, some kind of thing, you know, a standalone one shot. And we realized, like,
we did issue 3 script, and we're like, damn, we could use another issue. Like, I feel like it's so fast. Like, because we do in order to like map, you have to map the whole thing out in the very beginning. You know, we have to know what's going to happen in issue 4 at the end while we're writing issue 1. But the loose outline and then the rough draft, and then once you actually get to it and you have to commit, it's like, damn, you got to fit this in 22 pages. And then the flow doesn't feel right until you're like really experiencing it. And it's like, oh, snap. I want a 4th issue and I want it longer. And Whatnot's like, yo, let's just do this in 2024.
We already have that one shot. So, like, we just took that. We're going to have a little bigger 4th issue because a one shot is a little bigger than a regular comic. So, yeah, our final issue will be 34 pages, I think it is. It's gonna be bigger than the normal standard size. But yeah, we had to kind of rework the whole back end of our story because it was expanded at the halfway point to be 4 issues instead of 3. So yeah, we had to change the whole, not change, but like massage the whole back half and make it work better over 2 issues versus 1. That's a good way to put it.
Now you've mentioned Ben Templesmith a few times. Tom, you mentioned that you guys have had a friendship for a while. I think to anyone that's listening right now, they probably more so know him as, you know, a New York Times bestseller. He's a, you know, multi-award winning, you know, comic creator. He's notable works for anyone that might not be familiar. 30 Days of Night and Fell with Warren Ellis and a whole bunch of other things. But those are definitely the 2 top dogs, I would say, in his resume with respect. What are some lessons that you learned from Ben Templesmith? You know, as someone that's a, you know, career veteran that's been in the industry, won a few awards, like what did he bring to the table in terms of, like, you know, guiding you guys or making the process easy?
Oh, Ben's a genius. I think we start out with saying that. Like, he's there's no independent creator that I've ever seen that is as talented as that gentleman. And his love for comics, it pours through the page. How his brain works is fascinating. You hit him with the challenge, and it's like someone's playing 4D chess. He's calling stuff out that you would never think that unless you were deep into creating comics every single day for like 20 plus years, your brain just wouldn't think like that. But this is so cool about this medium, is that it offers that growth in as it pertains to the creative. And for him, it was like, geez, the thing that made it really easy is like, I just wanted to flex his art. I mean, I think that was the big thing, is like we put a note on the top of the page, like whenever we're in doubt. So remember, we have Ben Templesmith on this, and the visuals are going to be, you know, we can really lean on that, but in a good way, like not like as a what word, like a
That's not the wrong word, but for me, like with issue 1 specifically, there were so many times when we were like stressed and wondering, like, how do we write this scene? How do we make it fit? And then we sent the script to Ben. He's like, you guys here it is.
You did it.
Wow.
You did it. I showed you.
You're panicking. You're worrying. Here's the scene. Here they are. They all fit. They're all talking. Calm down. Keep going.
It's like, here, you can't figure it out. It's because the camera needs to be here. And then all of a sudden we're like, that's our comic book. And that looks really freaking cool. Oh my gosh. Because we're not artists, you know, and we don't think that way. And he's somebody who is like, he's probably the most indie creator I've ever met. Like, as far as he makes his own comics and sells them to his own patrons every 3 months. There's a new comic that only his patrons get. Recommend joining his Patreon, by the way, if you're at all a fan of Ben Templesmith. I mean, it's a must. But he's just on a constant grind of creating, and it leads to some of the most fun collaborative work experience I've ever had, because when we get those pages, it is like Christmas.
I gotta say too, we've had issue 1 done for a minute because, you know, because of the delays we already talked about, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if he was like practicing extra hard in that little downtime we had between issue 1 and 2, but the art that is on deck for the future issues is like even better. Like I'm kind of shocked at how much more I personally love issues 2 and 3, and I'm excited to get issue 4 once we're done scripting that, and once we get some thumbnails and pencils for that in. I don't know. I think each issue of this book gets better and better as it goes, at least in the art, if not the story.
Tell me if you can answer this without. Tell me if you can answer this without spoiling anything. What issue or page are you looking? Do you think? Let me actually rephrase that. What issue or page are you most excited for readers to get to? Without spoiling anything.
There is a part of issue 1 that we've kept out of we've had friends and family read issue 1,
mm-hmm.
and there is a consistency with their feedback that there is a part of the book that made them feel a certain way.
Okay.
And I feel like we accomplished
We have
something.
not revealed that moment at all. Yeah, we've been very careful. Yeah. All the marketing and teases we've done have avoided this specific shot.
And you know what? It's horror sci-fi, so we're looking to ruffle some feathers and make you feel not great sometimes. Because it's scary. We're trying to like, it's through a comic. It's kind of tough. When you're watching a movie, you got sounds coming at you and suspense and quick shots. And in a comic, you're seeing the whole page at once. So it's challenging. But if it's messed up enough, it lands in a way that you can't even experience in a theater or on a screen in general.
There's a couple moments for me in like issues 2 and 3, and I think we've got some cool stuff cooking for like the final climactic battle sequence or whatever is happening in the very end of the final issue. Like there's some stuff coming that I'm personally excited to see.
It's something that I'm really surprised about. Like for real, I can't believe how much body horror Whatnot has allowed us to do.
That's part of the like when we covered their debut and their launch, and we talked about Quested and Alpha Betas and Ninja Funk. Yeah. And Tom and I looked at each other, and Exiled. We looked at each other after that conversation, and we're like, "These guys need a horror comic. They don't have anything scary."
That's what we told them. We're like, guys,
smart.
You guys really need some horror. Like, first of all, those books are great.
They're good.
They were really
They're not scary though.
No, not
Exiled's got some moments, but
it's more action.
There's a lot of comedy. Yeah. There's funny books in there. I enjoyed Alpha Betas quite a bit, but
Quested is fantastic.
There's no horror.
But horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want it. I was looking for the thing that's like, ooh.
So maybe they just allowed us to be really, really off the charts horror scary because we're making up for every other non-horror title. And there's more now, of course. They got American Psycho over at Massive, and that book's great.
That's crazy good.
I think you guys, from the previews I've seen, the 6 page previews I've seen, I think you guys have already accomplished that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the story unfolds. As far as like the previews, it's got a tinge of mystery to it. I think Ben Templesmith's art is just eerie. It's the color palette is just, it feels claustrophobic. You can already tell there's a mystery to be unraveled in it. So the preview pages look great, and I'm excited to know that there's a fourth issue to expand and let you guys kind of have some breathing room on the story. On the story. Tom, I wanted to ask really quick in regard. You mentioned that you've had some family and friends read the book. Specifically, how has your dad reacted to, I guess, to all of this, like to him being a comic shop manager? Like he's got to have a huge sense of pride right now.
Oh, he's so proud. And it's a really special thing to share with him. He's got 2 different variants to debut at MegaCon. He's teamed up with Kyle Willis, who I know you've done stuff with in the past too.
Comics. Hell yeah.
Yeah. He had Kyle Willis cut up 1,000 little pieces of paper and made a huge mosaic.
He had Kyle do one of his infamous mosaics. Oh my god! It's gonna be
crazy. We're gonna show this off here soon. So
it's a really cool video.
Actually, at the time of this, I mean, what I can do is I can actually dump all those videos, and you can pick and choose what you want to share. But by the time that this comes out, the
book's out.
Out. So I'm sure they're gonna be debuting them. And Kyle actually did some recording of the process, so we incorporated that into this animated video that we're providing. So you get to see him like. These like little tiny pieces, one by one, with glue, and you're like, oh my gosh, man! Like,
no, he's
so much time on this. That's crazy.
He is insane with it. Speaking of some of the variant and the different covers, you guys, I mean, this was the last thing I was worried about. I was like, look, if there's one thing that these guys are going to do great, are the cover selections and options. You've got covers by some genuine, if it wasn't already good enough that you had Ben Templesmith doing the interiors and, the standard cover, you guys have some legends also doing some other legends doing some of these other covers. You got David Mack doing a cover. a beautiful Kevin Maguire tribute cover that I'm personally looking forward to grabbing. A Johnny Desjardins, is that how you say it?
Desjardins. Yes.
Desjardins, yes. A painted cover with him. And then you got a Metroid video game homage cover by your editor, Michael Calero and Trevor Richardson, that I might pick up as well. I know it's like probably asking you to pick, between your children, but do you have a personal soft spot, or do one of these covers stand out to you just a little more than the rest? Do you have a personal favorite?
I do.
What's your favorite?
Ooh.
My favorite for issue 1 is by Casey Parsons. I believe it's cover C.
Mm-hmm.
It shows our lead character, Allison, kind of floating in the water, about to get attacked by some tentacle monster. And you can see some crazy other monsters in the background. There's a lightning storm happening. It just really captures that moment of issue 1 for me in the creepiest way.
Okay. What about you,
outside
Tom?
of having Ben T do all the cover A's, of course. I mean, I'm very proud of all that. But as far as other covers, having a David Mack cover, that's pretty freaking cool. Like that's a shout out
a flex,
for
man.
helping make that happen. That's not the only one we got coming, by the way. But yeah, David Mack has been amazing. If you pull up, hell, I think issue 3 right now has some of the strongest covers. We have a cover by Scott Williams. Freaking crazy, dude. Crazy.
Let me take a look. I'm pulling up.
Kent Williams.
Scott Williams would be the inker.
Oh, Scott Williams the inker.
Oh, wow, you guys.
Kent
All right.
Williams.
So
Sorry, it's been a long day.
So I pulled it up real quick. So you guys have a Mike Mayhew cover. You guys have a Tyler Kirkham cover.
Battle damage, baby. Open to order, by the way. Didn't have to do that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And an Alex Maleev cover as well. Man, you guys are
My favorite artist.
Like I said, I had no doubt that the variant cover game was going to be on point. So congratulations on making that shit happen. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely really lucky. We got some incredibly talented people who are supporting this IP. Very excited.
So how does this change? I guess, all right, you went through this entire process. First of all, it's been what? How long would you say that you guys have worked on the book, from scripting, revisions, all that, like rough total time, ballpark? A year, 2 years?
It's been like 14, 15 months now, right?
It was like the fall 22, I think.
Well, we were,
right?
It was before New York.
Yeah.
We had panels done for New York, which is October 2022.
And we did that interview with Whatnot in like July or August.
I would say it really started in July of 2022. But we're still trucking.
For sure, yeah. You obviously have a lot of work still ahead of you, right? Like the marketing, wrapping up issue 4, all the things in between there. But I'm more so curious, how did you come out on the other side in terms of how you view comics personally, like how you enjoy them personally? Like, are you more analytical? Are you a little more selective? And then how maybe some of those lessons have crossed over with what you do with the channel? Like, has that improved how you do things? Has it changed anything? Yeah.
It's made me read comics so much more in depth and analytical, and I'm almost taking notes at this point. Like, what happens on a page turn? Are they teasing anything? I notice now when creators, I've seen this before as I'm reading, when you get the twist of a comic and you see it coming. I think Tom mentioned this before, but it's on the right-hand side of the book, and you see the big, splashy plot twist that it's supposed to be a surprise because it's not on the page turn, stuff like that. And you got to start to develop and kind of observe and take notes on. I'm panicking a little bit because in the last 14-ish months, like Tom mentioned, I've read more than a couple comics that came really close to our idea, and thankfully they veered off in a different direction before I got really worried. But that's another thing I was keeping an eye on while we were making this.
I think having been Templesmith just automatically makes it such a unique comic book. I mean, the saying, there's no ideas original, there's nothing new underneath the sun. But I really think it's like the execution, and I think your voices will definitely shine through because you guys are in such a unique and interesting place in the comic book kind of like ecosystem. So even if it's similar to something, I think you guys have enough differences and enough of a signature that it'll be rock solid. Tom, what about you? I mean, what are some of the big lessons that you came out with that you're applying to, whether you're reading comics personally or how you do things with the channel?
I have a new respect for artists who do traditional work, painted work, ink work, colorists, letterers. It's amazing how much it could change. We had a just a font change that literally made the entire book feel different. You know, it's kind of tough to map those things out. You know, we're so focused on writing a good book, then it's like, wait, just in how like the word bubbles look, it could influence how you feel when you're experiencing them. Also, the editorial process has been very, very exciting to me. We have Michael Calero, as mentioned, but we also have an assistant editor, Rand Bellavia, who is like an uncle. I've known him since I was a child. And his involvement was really great because do you remember like the first time we had a meeting with Rand? He says, guys, I just want you to sit down. I don't want to stress you out, but I reviewed issue 1 and I have some feedback. And that's kind of how it is. Like you get feedback from multiple people. And in this case, we were like kind of testing the waters to see if we wanted to get an assistant editor to kind of help us even more. You know, we're trying to think outside the box here. Yeah. And the first thing he said to us was, I don't know, should I be saying this?
You go for it.
Have I said this before?
Issue 1 is out.
Issue 1 is out, so it's too late.
It is.
So if you don't like it, then it is what it is.
Then it's Rand's.
He says, he's like, I love the story. We're so, so excited to be part of it. I think you ordered the pages wrong. And like my heart sank. And I'm like, what does that even
This was
mean?
like his audition almost, if you want to call it that, you know, like I can help you guys edit. Let me start by completely shuffling every single page in your book around.
He's like, I printed them out so I can experience them in hand. And then I looked at them on the floor and then I moved them around. So it's like your page 16 should be page 4, like stuff like that. And so we're like, wait a minute, hold on. We're over here critiquing word bubbles and we're like trying to figure out name changes. And then all of a sudden, wait, we have to like, did we order, is our story, it's not sequential, but maybe it's like really not sequential. And sure enough,
Let's Pulp Fiction this. Let's make it confusing.
But you know, that change, like it just totally racked my brain about how we're writing this book. And it's like, oh, that's like one of the coolest parts about comics is like you can do literally anything and have it be, it's like you can just like totally flip the reader's expectations on like timelines and what you show here, but then what you don't show here and what you save for later. So that's what reading comics is different for me now. I don't know if you feel that same way, but like
every day,
like when I read and experience a book, like I'm giving like, oh wow, they chose not to have the panels end. It's like you know what I mean? Like there's no box in this one page because the art goes through and it's like you see it the first time. And if you don't really think about that as a writer or a creator, it's like, it's a cool effect. But then like when you see it done intentionally, you kind of, and we're always looking like, I'm constantly taking mental notes like, yo, Ryan, look at this page. You do the same thing. You're like, dude, look at this Jimmy T, whatever. Like, look at what they did here. We're like, oh, damn, that gets me thinking.
I sent you a photo of
something else.
Daredevil comic I was reading like a month or two ago. The new issue of Daredevil, for example, has a scene with him like lurking in the vents above another character. And it's just a really cool cut, like a slice of this floor, right? You see what's happening below and him lurking in the vents above, all in one clean image. I'm like, here we go. I was kind of spoiling something that may or may not happen in a future issue, but I'm always looking for different ways to kind of, tell the story.
Damn.
Right.
You know, Tom, you mentioned getting, getting bit by the bug, having all these ideas, wanting to, write the next story. And I can see that. Like it is, you guys are exuding like this energy and this happiness to it. And it got me thinking like of all of the nonsense and the same old debate you see online about comics are dying, they're trash, whatever. You got me thinking like, if these motherfuckers had a chance to even write a short story and realize how hard it is, I think a lot of people's tunes would change. And it sounds like, you guys, I think it's safe to say you guys were probably never in that camp, but it's really humbling, from the outside looking in that you guys have such a profound and new respect for comics and you're looking at it even critical. I think that is that's a one hell of an opportunity to get. And I'm looking forward to grabbing Crashdown. Now, I want to ask, I should have asked this in the beginning, but I think this is probably a good place to start landing the plane. Issue 1 obviously comes out the day this interview comes out, I'm assuming by April, it'll be all wrapped up. What does success look like for you guys? Obviously, I think the easy answer would be, sell a bunch of books. But, I mean, is that the only metric for success for you, or do you have something personal that you're like, man, as long as XYZ happens, I'm good? Or is it just the opportunity? Like, are you just good enough with the opportunity, or do you have like bigger goals or benchmarks?
My benchmark, and maybe different than yours, Ryan, but like, I really want people to read our comic. I want people to open it. A lot of people don't read their comics. It's just a thing. We know it's the case. People like to collect covers. Collecting's awesome, but reading comics is a big part of the problem is that just in general, people don't read that much. And
you know, we should have done. We should have shipped just a blank book with covers on it.
Yeah,
it's a really cool comic. We totally wrote and drew the inside.
Got
see
you,
if anybody even
motherfucker.
I bet our haters would be like, "Oh, it didn't even make sense. Like, I don't even understand the character development, and the ending wasn't strong, and the thing would have been blank." And I'd have gone, "Yeah, gotcha. Like, I knew it. I knew you didn't even open it." But for me, the goal really is like to show you my cat's butt.
There you go, Butch.
That's my guy.
Surprise!
The goal is like I'm hoping that there's peeps who are like, "Yo, I read that comic. It's a little messed up. I'm excited about the next issue."
Hell yeah.
You know, like that's really that. There's obviously it'd be great to have it do well at LCSs, and I want everyone to be successful who back the book. But like, I want to like for me, Crashdown is about trying to create a story with Ryan that we both enjoy. And I want to get people to read comics more. Comics are so dope. And as soon as you experience reading them more, it unlocks a whole new thing. And if I can contribute to that even a little bit, that's all I need. Money and all that other stuff, that's later, yo. I'm just like, it'd be so cool to just have something that people actually enjoyed and, you know, be able to check out of the chaos of everyday life and, you know, have some time to yourself.
They're chaos.
Yeah.
And
enjoy
be the best escape.
Controlled chaos.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, and enjoyment and take some time to yourself. I feel like, you know, you gotta be able to like sit in a room by yourself sometimes for 10 minutes and not fidget on your phone and feel like the world's ending, you know?
You should not be preaching that to anybody.
Well, I do it on my own time.
Yeah.
You may not experience it because you're around, but no, there's plenty of times I'll just be like, you know what? My phone's down.
And read and put my phone away.
Dude, yo, legit, everyone should be able to just sit in a room by themselves and nothing. No sound, no music. People be losing their minds. They're thinking about what they got to do. They're checking on TV. They're looking on Instagram. It's like, no. You got to be like content with yourself, just like chilling. Enjoy your moments of being alone. And then maybe enjoy that with a story. Use your eyes, you know, your imagination.
You know what? That reminds me that one of my personal New Year's resolutions this year is to be a little more in tune with the moment. You know, like I know personally, you know, having to do a podcast and, you know, all the things that come with promoting a podcast, staying up to date with like the industry and things like that. I'm always on my phone. So I feel like sometimes, you know, moments pass me by or I'm not really enjoying it. So that's one of my New Year's resolutions. I also read a study today, or I seen a headline or something like that, that said by around this time of year is when most people drop out of their New Year's resolutions. So I'm curious to hear from the both of you. What professional or personal goal do you have set for yourself this year, whether that relates to comic making or something involved with the channel or personal that you would like to share? What's your New Year's resolutions this year? Ryan,
mine's the easy one. Mine's the basic one. You know, it's the same one I've had for pretty much my whole life. Get in shape, you know, work on that. So I'm doing that. I'm walking like a mofo every single day outside.
You're doing good. You lost a lot of weight.
That's something I'm trying.
Give it for Ryan in the chat.
Professional goal. I would like to get this comic book out. You know, we have that exact same applause sound on our soundboard.
Gotta love those default sounds.
That sounds weirdly familiar.
Tom, please don't like, you know, don't lift the curtain up. All right. All right,
Does
Ryan,
it come with the Frank Reynolds trash button?
Oh my God.
No,
you know what?
You
guys did something on that Bearded Comic Pro podcast that I was fucking laughing because I was like, finally someone that actually enjoys doing
something like this using the
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Heck
Shit,
yeah,
gotta press.
to take it off. There you go.
That's right.
Tom, what
These
about
guys
you,
don't
man?
like it as much. I have a lot of fun with the
dude,
I
soundboard.
think we did that interview
Same.
with Bearded Comic Bro like the week that Tom figured out what those buttons do, and so like every video we did for like a month or so, it was like some kind of weird robo voice.
Wait, have you figured out how to actually upload your own sounds to this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, there we go. Done deal. All right,
There we
Tom,
go.
what about you, man? What's a resolution for yourself this year?
I've hit the gym really hard over the last like I don't know, it's been like at least 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
At least 6
I
months.
see you showing off the guns, man. I'm impressed.
I
You
know,
got the guns
dude.
out.
They're getting
this
one right here. Yo, dude, I'm really proud of it because I grew.
Yeah.
I grew. I've been always been like a scrawny guy in high school, you know, and I was kind of weird about that growing up. And yeah, man,
Must
I'm like,
be nice.
Yeah, well, it's different. It's a different challenge. You know, like
it is,
not eating
sure.
is tough.
We're on the exact opposite ends of the spectrum there in high school. But that's keep going, continue.
So yeah,
we were all
like being
nerds.
skinny and
Look,
stuff, and
it
I'm sure
doesn't-
it was really bad.
It doesn't matter if you were skinny or maybe a big bone. We were still nerds. I think it's safe to say we were all nerds in high school. All right.
But and you're like, I think I hit like 5'11" when I was in high school. But like when you're like under 6 foot, yeah, it definitely doesn't do you any good to be super scrawny. You gotta, kind of work on other things, So I've been working hard on kind of sticking with a gym plan, and I got some homies who also are doing the same thing. Like Jem Mint's been a great inspiration. I mean, honestly, even like peeps like Jimmy T, we chat about.
James Tynan has lost like 3 human beings worth of weight in like a day. Like
dude
I don't know
looks so damn good.
He is an inspiration. Screw Jem Mint.
Yeah.
James Tynan.
Yeah,
that's the guy.
insane.
Yeah, I'm so proud of Jimmy T. And
Professionally and personally.
yeah, he's so cool.
His line at New York Comic Con was insane. Yeah, I'm glad to see him.
He's
doing
so
well.
freaking cool, dude.
All right, I got
one
one
crush
last
on that dude.
I got one last question.
But yeah, as far as like professionally, yeah, I mean, Crashdown. I wanna do all of our supporters right. I want to make a book that our community is going to be proud of. They gave us this opportunity, so I want to exceed their expectations.
Done deal. All right, Ryan, I got one question for you and then one question for Tom. Ryan, if you could give one piece of advice for any aspiring comic creator that wants to break into the industry, that wants to make their own comic book, is there something that you would say to them, or maybe in particular something that you would have told yourself as you were first starting out to maybe save yourself a headache or just make things easier? What would you say?
Before Tom pulled me into the YouTube channel, like he explained earlier, asking me to help him do videos and all that, before he did that, I was working graveyard at a hotel for freaking 7 years, I think was the total time I spent
This
there.
dude would go a full day's worth of work overnight, get off, drive an hour and a half, sometimes in traffic, to go do a freaking video about
dedication.
Infinity Gauntlet that would get 200 views. And I'd make them record it. We were learning, so like I would do this thing where
we just recorded twice.
No, dude.
Is that what you're talking about? Because we did that a lot.
We did. I used to.
Hated those.
This is what I used to do. I'd be like, all right, we have to hit a timeline. We got to hit a time. I got to get good at doing this under freaking 30 minutes. Yeah. So I hit a stopwatch, and we'd be going, and all I'd have to do is kind of like I'd have a different look on my face when I knew we'd have to restart. And it got to the point where Russ and Ryan would get so mad. They're like, son of a bitch, Tom.
Just from the look on your face.
Are you going to say we got to restart?
And they'd be up all night.
I'm like, dude, we got to do it over again. We have to get better at this. No one's going to watch it if we don't make it shorter and better. And actually, that's my,
it anyway.
That's
is the end of the story.
I actually just figured out my answer. And this is
go. Yeah.
This is my.
I wasn't talking.
This is my my answer for a lot of things. Right. I think this actually help. I think this could help some people.
I was stalling for time anyway. I didn't need to say anything at all.
This is for content in general.
Yeah, please.
It's very simple. Do less better. It applies to everything. YouTube, content, writing. Like if you wrote awesome dialogue in the comic, can you make it shorter and better? Because you don't want that word bubble to be huge. If you're going to do a YouTube video unboxing, can you cut out 5 minutes of you like walking around and not on the mic and you're fumbling? Oh, I'll be right back. You can cut that. You can make it shorter, be respectful of people's time, make it more quality. And that's since the beginning. Do less better. Every step of the way has never steered me wrong because you're focusing on quality. And I think that's something that if I would have learned that even earlier, I probably would be even better at what we do now.
Damn.
Pretty good answer.
Well said.
Not what I was going to say, but it's a pretty good answer.
No, that's a solid answer. And I'm glad that you spoke for the fellow content creators out there. That's a really good piece of advice. Ryan, what about you? What was the piece of advice you had?
I was going to say, while I was toiling away at the hotel for years, I spent a lot of time writing screenplays because I was, killing time, writing stuff for myself, for nobody else. I was scared to even let somebody even read them. It was literally just for like practice, so to speak. I guess that means the best advice I would say is put yourself out there. I would definitely tell that to my younger self, but professionally, if I hadn't had met Tom, if I hadn't had been available to feel uncomfortable in a whole bunch of YouTube videos leading up to this. You know, you gotta put yourself out there. You got to take the risk. You know, you got to feel a little uncomfortable and unsafe and try stuff, which I think is the best. That's the best advice. But also, I think there's just an example. There's an overall feel of like networking and putting yourself out there and talking to people and making relationships and friendships. And you never know what the guy who interviewed you for a bank job like a decade ago. You know, you never know where that random relationship is gonna go in your life. So put yourself out there, talk to people. Don't be scared.
You gotta have your wolf pack, man. You know, you gotta have your people you trust, your inner circle, and you gotta protect it. But you also have to know who's in it and know that trust has to be established, and you got to be able to be reliable. And if you surround yourself by good people, like there's gonna be times that I'm down, that I'm not able to do all the things that I'm committed to doing, but I know I got him. He's got my back, and it goes the same way. And I can say that about Russ Bright. I can say that about Jeff, Golden Age Guru. I can say that about Heron Heavens. Like all these people that are immensely important to this whole thing that we're building here as a channel and as a comic. It's all about the people you surround yourself with, and always like really looking to provide everybody else with that extra 1%. The relationships in my life, they're always 51. 51% is going to them. I'm always looking out a little bit more for other people because, you know, it's all about empathy, and it's all about, doing right by others. And
51 for me. I'm thinking you're putting like 82 in for me, and I'm contributing like 18.
Yeah. You're working on yours.
Go less.
You can go.
I could do like 10 probably.
Probably, yeah.
Those are some great pieces of those are words to live by, even outside of content creating and writing comic books. So I appreciate the words of wisdom. Those were really well. I've got one more question before we wrap up. I promise it's the last one, but it plays to your strength. Because one of my favorite series of videos to watch from the ComicTom YouTube channel is the trending videos. Now, everyone that listens know I'm not a seller of comics. I'm not someone that buys to flip or hopes to make a bunch of money. I am maybe in the same boat as you guys, where it really is about reading comic books, enjoying the story and the art form. So that I say that to say I watch the trending videos because a lot of times you guys are putting me onto books that I might have missed. One that in particular that comes to mind is Beneath the Trees.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, love that series. I think you guys put it on the radar for me first, and it also reminded me to. Yeah, and it also reminded me to make sure I went ahead and bought the second issue. Sometimes it's fun to go ahead and buy.
You hear that?
Issue.
Our trending coverage got him to go buy a comic he wanted to read. Just want to throw that out there.
Department of Truth, Tom's favorite comic.
I saw a comment the other day because I talked to people about getting Department of Truth right now.
It was on the list.
He showed me a comment.
Oh, wow.
He's like, he just snapshotted someone's comment on a random thread, and it's like, they said that I was shilling Department of Truth. And I just started laughing. I'm like, shilling Department of Truth? That's like an oxymoron. Like, what? Is that even possible? It's like, oh, Tom's always talking about Spider-Man and Dark Knight Returns. He's shilling Frank Miller. It's like, no, Frank Miller don't need anyone to shill crap. What are you talking about?
Department of Truth. Yeah.
It's Department of Truth, dude.
But Department of Truth is like at least a 2-year-old comic book. It's like, well,
maybe they're trying to start a conspiracy, and it's like
maybe
layers.
We created Department of Truth.
This is like really meta now. Yeah. Anyways, I say all that to say that Beneath the Trees was a book that I got put onto in part to the YouTube channel and the trending videos. So I want to ask, what is a book besides Crashdown that everyone should go out to the local comic shops and pick up issue 1? What is a book that you feel not enough people are reading that they absolutely should go check out?
Oh,
Ryan, you gotta.
Okay.
Ryan, really quick, Ryan, you have a distillery shirt on, and it's been catching my eye because they've been pumping out these first issues have been fantastic. So I want to start with you, and it doesn't have to be distillery. I'm just giving you a compliment on the shirt.
The second they announced distillery, I jumped on board. I'm very much in love with all those creators and what they're doing over there.
Yeah,
something not enough people are reading. Oh man, that's such a good question too. Because all the stuff that I love right now is very much in line, and everyone's on board.
dude, no one reads comics. What are you talking about? What do you?
Yeah. I don't like the first thing that comes to mind. It's a Marvel book, which is stupid, and I feel like that doesn't count. But like, I don't think enough people are talking about Fantastic Four right now.
Interesting.
It's my favorite Marvel comic. It's the best Fantastic Four has been in over a decade. Like, every writer I've read since Jonathan Hickman has been trying to copy what Jonathan Hickman did like a decade or two ago at this point. I don't even remember how long it's been. It's been a while. And Ryan North is writing Fantastic Four right now, and it is funny, it is charming, it is heartfelt, every issue is amazing. It's blowing me away, and nobody's reading it. It seems like because I think a lot of people gave up on Fantastic Four because it's hasn't been that good in recent years. So, Fantastic Four is my first instinctual answer.
Okay, that's a good pick. What about you, Tom?
Probably
Really quick
answer, huh?
Here, I'll stall for a little more time for you. And Ryan, you know what? You can't go wrong with any of those Alex Ross covers at all. Like, even if, like, you know, for some reason you choose not to even open up the book, some of those Alex Ross covers are so good it's worth just picking up, you know, the comic.
I'll give Tom even more time
itself.
because recently there was a recent story arc where the Fantastic Four accidentally opened a portal to a universe where everybody was a dinosaur, and they fought a Fantastic Four version of themselves, but as dinosaurs. And one of the covers for that was Alex Ross, who drew a dinosaur Doctor Doom with the regular Doctor Doom riding him, like, you know, it's just a T-Rex Doctor Doom with regular Doctor Doom. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it's funny, and it worked, and it made no sense. It's kind of, it's like a throwback comic. It feels like a Silver Age book, which is cool.
That's good
but
stuff.
It's modern.
I know it just ended, but I want to say Ghost Rider.
Yeah, it did just end,
Benjamin
unfortunately.
Percy, right?
Well, he's still writing it now, but they're about to reboot it with the Hood.
But yeah, but before all that, and it just ended, like, that whole run is it's superb. Hulk right now, damn, dude.
PKJ, baby.
That is crazy good. I haven't been this excited about Hulk since Immortal Hulk and the first few issues of Donny Cates' Hulk. Back issues, as far as like older stuff, I'm kind of surprised that I've recommended The Crow to so many people that haven't read it.
Interviews over, bye.
So like,
great to talk to you.
Yeah, so like that's definitely something that I want to help change.
Everyone
needs to read The Crow.
Tom gave me his trade paperback of The Crow when we worked at the bank, and I left it in the backseat of my car for like 5 years, and it got super sun faded, and I never tossed it, never did anything with it.
But you have
to read it on my shelf right now. It's got like sentimental value at this point. I never want to read it at this point because it's been over a decade. It's just sitting there on my shelf.
Yeah. It's good.
I love Crow.
It's a annual read. Like I have some comics I'm just like Watchmen. I read Watchmen every single year. V for Vendetta at least once a year.
Every November.
Not November, but like
he's like October.
At least once a year. I'll just be like craving it, you know. But yeah, no, those are some of my like, you know, you gotta brush up on your Alan Moore a little bit, you know.
For sure. Look, it's Watchmen used to be almost like a monthly read when I was like really young and like getting into like the more obscure stuff. So yeah, I feel you on that. But solid picks overall. I know I've got some homework. I'm gonna check out Hulk and Fantastic Four as well.
Those are the two best Marvel books right now. Definitely.
Oh yeah. All right, but that,
the transformation. I mean, it's always interesting to see how writers handle transformation of Bruce Banner. But like, shit,
I've seen the panels and pages from that and talk about some body gore.
Wicked. Yep, it's wicked, yo. It's so good.
All right, Tom, Ryan, this has been fantastic. First and foremost, if you guys ever want to come back on the show, open door policy for you guys. I'm gonna have links to your socials. I'm gonna have links to the YouTube channel. I have links to previews for Crashdown. I highly recommend and advise, once again, if you're listening to this episode, Crashdown issue 1 is in your local comic shops. Now, do yourselves a favor, pick that up, add the series to your pull list. But Tom and Ryan, do you have any closing remarks? Anything to say to the listeners? Anything you want to close out with before we wrap up?
Yeah, we appreciate all the support. It's really cool that we're able to make this interview happen. Really appreciate you. But yeah, issue 1's out. Issue 2 is available for you to order. Throw Crashdown on your previews pull list. It is $3.99.
Unlike a lot of other books these days, but we're sticking to the $4 cover price.
I mean, hopefully that continues. I mean, all the way through issue 3, at least it's $3.99. And hopefully we have a second print coming, so that if you missed out on issue 1 and you're starting to order it, you can hopefully get another chance at issue 1, and maybe issue 2. It all depends on, you know, what gets ordered, and it's not really up to us. But yeah, no, we really do appreciate all the support and love and everyone along the way. You know, everybody we've called to get advice from. It's been a really cool thing, you know. They know who they are.
Oh yeah. Well, Ryan, I want to once again thank you so much for helping me set this up. Tom, it's been a pleasure to finally meet you and you know, get to see get to experience the ComicTom magic, you know, not just watching on YouTube but in person. So I appreciate both of you and your time.
I have a plug. Can I plug something?
This is the time.
Because I want all your audience to know we're giving away an Amazing Spider-Man 300. It's like a $500 plus book. And all you have to do is sign up to our newsletter on ComicTom101.com. That's it. Like right when you go to the landing page, you type in your email address when the box comes up, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to buy anything. We used to do a lot of giveaways on the show, and then there were people spamming the comment section, going after our audience's money and committing fraud, saying
pretending to be you,
pretending to be people from the show. They'd do like ComicTom101 dot or ComicTom101 space dot, and they'd be like, hey, you won, send us $50. And so we had to stop doing giveaways like that. So if you are interested in ever winning one of our giveaways, which we do them monthly on the show, and this month is an ASM 300 first print, all you have to do is sign up to the newsletter. And also when Crashdown comes out, you'll get an email about it, but I try to keep it very light. I don't want to spam people, I don't like getting a bunch of emails myself, so I try to be very reserved with what we send out. But you'll keep up with us, with all the stuff we do, and you'll be entered to win not just our ASM giveaway, but every giveaway going forward.
Look, my man Tom is a salesman, and that sounds like too much of a good deal to pass up. And if there's one thing I know the Shortbox Nation enjoys more than listening to awesome interviews like this, it's free comics. All right. So take Tom's advice. Like I said, I'm going to have links to the website so you can sign up for the newsletter in the show notes. But besides that, listeners, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of this episode. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment, review, hit me up via email at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. I've got a really fun follow-up interview scheduled next week with Declan Shelby. All right, that's right. Declan Shelby had an awesome
time,
interview.
man. I love that bug.
Yeah, exactly. He's got he's the writer of the new Thundercats series that's launching via Dynamite with artist Drew Moss. If you heard our episode with Ben Kingsbury last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, you know that is one of the most hyped and one of those books that retailers are looking forward to as well as fans. So I got Declan Shelby coming on the show next week, so you don't got to wait long for another awesome interview. Besides that, you guys take care, and I'll catch you next week. All right? Peace.